Good morning, everybody. This is Purnatmananda, and I'm speaking from the Temple of Peace, based in Denver, Colorado, in the United States. Welcome to all of you. This is the home of our beautiful lineage of Kriya Yoga Masters. This is a vision of our loving Guruji, Baba Paramahamsa Pragyananji. It's his vision and also the creation of and contribution of the Denver Kriyavans. So we are here for a satsang. It is early morning here. It is 5:30 a.m. And I'm sure it is evening over there in many parts of the world, or different parts of the time in different parts of the world also. So good evening to some of you and good day to some of you. Let us begin this beautiful morning or beautiful evening with a small prayer. Let us close our eyes and listen. If you know this prayer, please join me. Brahmanandam paramasukhadham kevalam jnanamurtim dvandvatitam gagana sadrisham tattvamasya laksham ekam nityam vimalamachalam sarvadi sakshi bhutam Bhavatitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tam namami. Sadgurum tam namami. I humbly prostrate to God Almighty, that one omnipresent, all-pervading consciousness, humbly prostrating to all of the Kriya Yoga masters, the exalted, self-realized masters of this lineage, bowing down to our loving Gurudev, and our loving Guruji, Baba Pragyananji. I humbly bow down to them. Bowing down to all the saints and sages of all spiritual paths. And I humbly bow down to the divinity that is present in each one of you. Once again, good morning and welcome, and good evening and welcome. We are here for a short satsang, a talk, during these tough times that the world has never seen or experienced in this magnitude. Our talk today will be about prayer. Let me narrate a small story, and it will lead into our topic. There is a very well-known cancer specialist. His name is Dr. Mark. And one day he happened to be on his way to an important conference in another city, and this conference was very significantly important for him and to the community, because he was going to be awarded for his research in the field of cancer research. Very famous person. He's very excited, and he was very desperate to reach his destination, because he's after this recognition, and he has worked long and hard in his field of research. So, and sure enough, he takes off in a plane, boards a plane, takes off, and after about 2 hours of a flight, the plane has to make an emergency landing at the nearest airport, because the plane has developed a technical snag. And he gets off the plane at this small airport, and afraid that he's not going to make it to this conference, he goes to the receptionist and to the ticket counter and tries to ask them, saying, what is the next flight and when he's going to be able to get to his destination. And the people at the ticket counter tell him that the next flight is about 10 hours after. So pretty much he can forget his conference and his award ceremony and all this good stuff. So, and they suggest at the ticket counter, saying, you know, it's not too far from here. Why don't you just rent a car, and we can provide the car, because it's a problem with the airline. We'll provide you a car, and you can. He doesn't like to drive that long a distance, so and they said it's just 4 hours away, and so he says, okay, even though it's a no choice situation, let me do this, and hopefully I'll be able to make it still just in time. And so he takes the rental car, and he's on the road driving happily. And this again is here in the United States, of course. And 4 hours is a lot of miles, but you can cover it in 4 hours. And he's partly on his way, and then the weather turns bad. Torrential storm, very heavy rains. He's not able to even properly see what are the signs. The signboards are not visible properly, and he's still driving, saying he has to get to his destination. So, and after about 2 hours of driving, he doesn't know if he's still on the highway or if he's on a local road. He's completely lost, and he feels for some strange reason, I don't think I'm in the right place, because he doesn't see the typical signs you would see on a highway, and he thinks he's completely out of civilization because he's somewhere in the countryside. And then he sees a small house, and he says, oh my God, I'm completely off the highway. I've gone off some exit, and I don't know how he got here. So the rain has basically blurred his whole vision and everything, and he's trying to figure out where he is. And he sees a small tattered house. It's kind of very dilapidated and stuff like that, and he's wondering if anybody's in there. And it's pouring rain, and he just gets out of his car and knocks on the door, and a lady opens the door. He says he thinks he's lost, and he would like to use a telephone. And this is in the days when you don't have your cell phone, you just flip it out and you just conference and all that good stuff. So, and the lady says, well, I'm sorry to say I don't have any electronic gadget in this house. And he's beginning to realize that this lady is in a very dire state. There's no electricity. There's just a wood burning stove, and it's her, and there's nothing else. Very, very Spartan belongings. So And then she welcomes him. He says, please come in, the weather is bad. You can have some, I can make you some tea. At least you can warm yourself up, and we can get you back on the road. And she says, she offers him something to eat also. And then he says, she says, it is pretty late, so why don't we pray together, and then we can have something to eat, and stuff like that. And this Dr. Mark smiles, and he says he believes only in hard work. And he says, I don't believe in all these prayers. Please continue with your prayers if you wish. And he continues. He sits at the table, a rickety old table in the little house, and he's sipping his tea. And remember, there's no light, there's no electricity, so it's candles. And he's watching this lady in there, and she is bent over a small baby crib. A baby crib is like a container where the small baby is, and she's praying. And every time she finishes her prayer, after a very short pause, she starts yet another prayer. And the doctor thinks maybe there's something wrong with her, and maybe she needs some help. She's going prayer after prayer, and he doesn't know what she's praying for and whom, etc. And he quickly, in between one of the prayers, interjects and goes and asks her, what exactly is she praying for, and to God? And if she even thought that God would ever listen to her prayers. And then he asks, this child, is this your child, and what are you praying for, what is wrong, etc. And the lady smiled in a very sad way and said that the child was her own son, and that the child is suffering from a very, very rare form of cancer. And she has heard from the local small hospital that there is one doctor called Mark who can cure him. And he has some latest research, and he has come up with the way to mitigate the problem. And she said she has neither the money nor can afford this doctor's fees, and he lives very, very far away. And so she said, God has not answered my prayers so far, but I hope that God will create a way for me to have my son treated, and that she will not allow her fears to overcome her faith. And this Dr. Mark is stunned and speechless. And he says, he's in tears. And he says, and he whispers, God is really great. And then he begins to recollect the sequence of events, saying how he took off from this airport several hours away from here. The plane was forced to land because of a technical snag. And then he rents a car, and then somehow mysteriously he has lost his way, and he's at the doorstep of this lady who is in need of his help. So God not only answered her prayers, but brought Dr. Mark to her doorstep. And so let us look at this incident. It's beautiful. And there are a lot of things to learn from this small narration. And this narration ends with saying, always be prepared to do what God has prepared for you, or what God has prepared you for. So, and a big conclusion from this is that there are no accidents in life. Everything has a purpose. Everything, there's a plan. There's a plan behind it, and many times we don't understand, we don't recognize it. There's the hidden hand of the divine, hidden hand of God. And so this is about prayer, and that is what we are here to talk about. Prayer is powerful. Prayer is powerful, and look at this lady's faith, unshakable faith. She's saying, she's praying, and whether it's going to happen or not, and she's not going to be shaken by fear, and her faith is so strong, and that is a critical aspect of prayer, which is the whole belief in the fact that there is even the existence of God. For some of that, for some of us, that itself may be an issue. Saying, does God even exist? And so prayer can take different forms. In the form of this, with this particular incident, this lady is probably praying, saying different prayers from the Bible or some prayer book, and she's saying prayer after prayer. That is clearly one way to say it. And there are so many other ways to prayer. Prayer, you could have elaborate ritual associated with prayer. And prayer could be simple talk between you and God. It is a private conversation between you and God, and nobody else needs to know. And we'll talk about a little more, if we have time, about another story about Leo Tolstoy listening to a prayer. So, but the critical thing about prayer is it is from the, if prayer is from the heart, and it is not mechanical chanting or narration of some sentences, that is when prayer has huge, the message is sent, and it has a huge impact. And a great saint from India, Papa Ramdas, some of you may have heard about him. He says, prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with the void, so that His grace may fill you and transform your life into His very image. And there are several great masters and saints who talk about prayer. And when we look at our own master of our lineage, Paramahamsa Yoganandaji, whose 100 years of coming to the West we are celebrating this year, in whatever little way we can, he says the word prayer smacks of beggary. He says, don't beg. We are children of God. He made us in His image. Why should we beg? So he says the word prayer is antiquated. Instead, it is an old way of looking at things. Instead, God basically, He has wisdom, immortality, happiness, abundance. And so instead, the word prayer should be changed to loving demand. So it is a loving demand from the child to the parent. So instead of begging. So that is yet another way of looking at it. And sometimes what happens is when prayers are answered, a superstitious trust in God may come about, And if they are ineffective, because God has a different plan, distrust may follow. Instead, I think that is where our faith in God, our faith in prayer, saying, like this lady, she says, it's unshakable. I'm still going to keep praying. I don't know. But how God works and in what mysterious ways God works. So it will happen. And this prayer, even as our Kriya Yoga masters talk about it, meditation itself is indeed prayer. It is silent prayer. And as Guruji talks about it, there is one of the ways of prayer is chanting. Chanting can be prayer. And that chanting itself, as Guruji explains, different types of chanting. The chanting can be very vocal, loud, and it's chanting of series of prayers, whether it can be in Sanskrit, it can be in Greek or Aramaic or English, whatever the language that you're comfortable with. And that is one other way. And that you can be praying with rosary, with beads, where you're chanting, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you are chanting with the beads, you could be chanting silently, where your lips are not moving, and you're still chanting these prayers. And where have these prayers come from? They are from the scriptures, or they are realized, they are basically revelations to a realized master, words that have been put together, and you repeat them several times to bring about the necessary desired results, to commune with God. And so, and then the even more silent prayer or chanting will be you're chanting mentally. And the chanting can be the simple name of God. For example, somebody is chanting Rama, 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 and that is loud. You could be doing the same thing mentally as the beads, of the rosary are in your hand. And when we talk about these beads, it reminds me of this beautiful doha, or a couplet that Guruji narrates, though I'm not able to complete it completely. I think it's a saying of Sant Kabir, a great saint of India. And he says, it basically translates into where Hath mein to mala fire. So in the hand, the rosary is moving, and then the mouth is chanting the words. But and then we find that the good old mind is roaming. It is just all around the world. So we could be chanting the name of God, and you're thinking, "Oh, I'm hungry. I wonder if my wife or husband has made breakfast. I wonder what is for breakfast." And so the mind is just roaming around here and there, or it could be thinking about, "Oh my God, I have to finish these prayers, and I have to have a meeting and all this good stuff." So it's endless thoughts in the mind. So if that is the case of prayer, then it is not really effective. It is not from the heart, is what is the point that's being made. So, and the key emphasis is the faith, the unshakable faith. And the opposite of this faith is the doubt. And we are all, happily, we are doubting Thomases, right? Which is, that is because of the nature of the mind. So our mind causes us, sometimes the situations are such that we are troubled, and we say, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to happen." So it is the doubting nature of the mind, and we want to transcend that, and steadily stay with whatever prayer is there, and develop our faith over time. And the masters emphasize that the most effective prayer is the one which is offered in a state of surrender with total love and devotion. So there is faith, there is love and devotion. There are these aspects associated with prayer itself. And in these troubled times of the world being impacted by a virus, and this virus, you cannot even see it, and it is submicron or micron sized, and this thing has literally brought the entire world, humanity, to its knees, and many people are in different kind of situations. And if our situation is such that we are very comfortable during these days of lockdown, which pretty much the whole world is under, we may be very comfortable because of, again, grace, that we have a roof, we have food to eat, and we have no worries. And we are just spending our time in prayer, meditation, doing good things at home. Wonderful. But we can at the same time apply this prayer both for ourselves and our mental state, maybe right now such that we are content, not agitated. But there are a lot of people in the world who are not in that state. Because they are going through suffering, they don't know what is happening, and not all of us are in the state of these great realized masters where we have not transcended the body and the fact of mortality. So, and this little 1 micron virus has literally brought fear, anxiety, stress into the world. Prayer is one great way to overcome this. Just heartfelt prayer, just a talk with God. When we are talking about this talk with God, that brings us to another small story. Leo Tolstoy, which many of you who may know, a very great author from, I guess, from Russia, he walks into a church and he sees a young man sitting there, and he's looking at the image of Christ, and he is talking to Christ, and he's pouring his heart out, and just pouring his heart out, saying, I've done this, I've done that, please help me with this problem and that problem. And Tolstoy does not disturb him. He's just standing there listening to this whole thing going on for quite a few minutes. After that, the young man is he's completely done with his outpouring. He just humbly bows down to Christ, and then he is leaving. Tolstoy stops him and says, young man, I have never heard any prayer like the one that you have just done, where somebody has had such an outpouring of their heart completely to God. I'm really, really moved. And the young man tells Tolstoy, who asked you to listen to my prayer? That is a prayer between me and God. It's a private conversation. Who asked you to intervene? So prayer is a personal conversation. It doesn't have to be a very elaborate Sanskrit prayer or a very complicated old English verse or anything like that. It's just a conversation saying, oh God, help me. Or, oh God, help the world. Oh God, help these people who are suffering. So in these times, we can do many of those things. For those of us who are on this call, who are Kriyamans, to meditate to the best of our ability. And as Gurudev and Guruji says, meditation begins only after realization, but we are not there. So at least let us practice the techniques in all sincerity and offer the techniques and offer in all humility whatever we have at the feet of the divine, saying, please help all those in need. In our own language, in our own words. That could be the simplest of prayers. And that is the best that we can do, because we cannot go out there and do anything much in the world. and since we are all in lockdown. So praying for people so that people overcome their anxiety, their stress, fears associated with this. And there are people who may not have those problems, but in these circumstances, because their finances are not in good shape, they may not have food. And this is a situation that could happen anywhere in the world. And let us pray for them and hope divinity delivers help for these parts of humanity also. Uh, we are almost at close, so I have to close up. I'll just leave you with this one last statement again from this great master, Papa Ramdas. He says, there's one kind of prayer. He says, "Oh God, do not grant my prayers because in the foolishness, because in my foolishness, I may ask for things which are harmful to me." This means basically leave everything to him. This is entire world is the play of the divine. We can say it is Maya for us who are not feeling the pain, because many of us are not there. But God knows best what is good for us. So when we come to that state, the devotee has passed the stages of prayer. So with that, because it is time, I will humbly close. Let us close with a small prayer again. We will chant the Mahamrutyunjaya mantra 3 times and close. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrutyor Mukshya Mamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrutyor Mukshya Mamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrutyor Mukshya Mamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Brahmarpanamastu. May God and Gurus bless each one of you. May God and Gurus bless all of this creation. May there be less suffering. Om Tat Sat. Om Brahmarpanamastu. Jai Guru. Thank you all. Before I leave you, I was supposed to briefly show you a quick virtual view of this meditation hall, which is Temple of Peace, and I will attempt to do that by moving the camera. So hope you get a quick view of things, and I will do that as we. So this is one of the meditation halls we have at Temple of Peace. And we have a similar hall downstairs. Thank you all. God bless you all.